Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. All right, so we are sitting here and we are with Jana Bair, or as she was known before the recent marriage, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Super happy for you. So Jana Bair, also known as Jana Waller. And Jana, can you go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody listening?
Sure. We just had a funny laugh about it before we started recording, but I'm Jana Waller, and I recently added Bair to my last name. I got married to John Bair this last June, and if anyone has been following me along the last 14 years of my outdoor industry career, they know how much I love bears. So no, to answer those questions, I didn't specifically target out a man with the last name Bair, but it just happened to be, and it's an amazing thing. It's not spelled B-E-A-R, B-A-I-R, but it's still a super cool last name. So I had to add it.
You're just into sexy auctioneers is what it is.
Yes, exactly.
You like fast talkers.
But no, I am originally from Wisconsin. Been a hunter my whole life. My dad brought me up in the outdoors, and hunting was smart enough to sign me up back in 1983 for hunter safety. Yes, you could do the math. And I was, the only girl in hunter safety, and it's glorious to see classes these days that are 50-50, girls and boys. But I was a bird hunter in my youth, and then my dad and I often road trip to South Dakota from Wisconsin. I picked up a bow my freshman year in college, and so I've been a diehard bow hunter for over 30 years. And recently, in the last, I would say 6 or 7 years, I've gotten into pistol hunting, muzzleloader hunting, long-range rifle hunting. So I kind of like to do it all. What do they say? Master of none. Like, what do they say? What's that?
Jack
quote?
Of all trades, master of none.
Trades, master of none. Yeah, basically that's me. Yeah. But no, I started Skullbound TV almost 14 years ago, and launched it on the Sportsman's Channel, and was really blessed to have 9 years on the Sportsman's Channel. And during that 9th year, I was toying with the idea of going digital because a lot of my partners were kind of wanting that. I stayed clear of YouTube because it's, everyone knows YouTube is not hunter friendly, not gun friendly, and Carbon TV is. It's all owned by hunters. So I decided to do kind of a test run, if you will, Skullbound Chronicles, we called the show. And it was basically highlights of the previous 9 seasons on Sportsman's Channel. And it did so well that the following year I jumped ship and went exclusively with Carbon TV. Now I'm launching in next week my season 6 of Skullbound Chronicles. And yeah, it's been an amazing almost 14-year TV career, which I never intentionally planned on.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything happens for a reason. And it was an amazing path that we happened to go down. And I feel super lucky to be in this industry, be so connected to other hunters. And I moved from Wisconsin to Montana 14 years ago, and started the show. And I have since moved from Montana to Utah this past June. But, I do a ton of public land hunting. I'm primarily, I would say, a public land hunter. I do outfitter hunts once in a while, but I really like to, if it's a great outfitter, I really like to take my veterans to those because it's just more accommodating. I do a lot of combat veteran hunts. It's, when I have a nice lodge to go back to and vehicles to use and food provided, it just makes the hunt so much easier, even though they're still hardcore elk hunts. But I just love every single species, every single weapon, and been super blessed to have Skullbound and Skullbound Chronicles. And I'm just going to keep riding the train as long as it's going down the tracks.
I hear you. So cool. I love, Jana, number one, that you kept the Midwest accent.
Well, that's not on purpose.
Doesn't matter.
Everybody...
Last time I had you on, I had a friend reach out to me and he said, "Gosh dang it, I could just listen to her talk all day. I love he goes, I love a Midwest accent."
That's so cute. Well, it's really, want to hear a really funny story about that? So I don't know about you guys. I grew up in Wisconsin and I didn't think any of us, the only people I thought who had accents were from the South, the Southern draw. And then as you get a little older, you realize like, okay, New York and Boston, they've got their own kind of accent. But I really didn't consciously think about Wisconsinites or Minnesota or whoever, us having accents. And I went to Australia when I was 18 years old, the summer after my senior year, with my two best friends who were also in my class. And we just took 3 weeks and toured around Australia. And we went into this restaurant. We were talking to this guy and he goes, "Hey, where are you ladies from? Is it Canada, Minnesota, or Wisconsin?" And my chin was on the floor. I'm like, "How do you know that?" Like, I couldn't believe it. I had no concept of us Wisconsinites having a particular sound. And so since then, which was, my goodness, how many years ago? I get a lot of slack from my Wisconsin accent. A lot of people love it. A lot of people tease me about it. I don't notice it at all. Even when I'm here in Utah, I think Utah people actually have a kind of a Southern draw.
It's like a California mixed with Southern. It's like kind of drawn out. Yeah.
Sorry, Californian.
No, it's all good. You know what's sad though? And just like Illinois, this is one thing. Illinois probably has a pretty close second to California bad rap, right? But it's really not all of California. I know so many good people from California, and most of them have made a mass exodus, which good for them. But then on the same hand, like here I am stuck in Illinois, dealing with just terrible politics and everything else. But I mean, number one in corruption, like the past 20 years.
I tell you what, though, I feel like every state's got their shameful moments, right? I mean, California is pretty easy to make fun of if you're in the gun and hunting industry, but there are a lot of other, I mean, every state's got, look at Colorado right now with the wolf situation. I'm like, oh my God, like seriously, we all have things we could be completely proud of in our state and other things we're like, not so proud of. So no offense to anybody in California or anywhere else. I've got lots of friends in Illinois and plenty of Scotties still back home that I'm really tight with. But no, back to the accent. I'm actually very proud of it. John, my husband, makes fun of me on a weekly basis.
It's the hard pronunciation of the O, Jana. It's the
O. Have you guys heard California accents?
Yeah.
When I was a little boy, I grew up in Michigan, and then we moved to Washington State. And I remember hearing everybody being like, "Why did they talk this way?" Everybody's saying, "That's a hot box." Like they got these long, drawn out O's.
California, though. I mean, the prime example is Saturday Night Live, to where they're like talking about getting on the 405 and all that. That is California, like at least SoCal. That is the accent.
John teases me more about. He always says there's only one A in car. And then he says apparently the word bag doesn't have an E.
Bag.
Like the grocery
bagel.
Bag. Bag.
Yep. Bagel is another one that everybody makes fun of me for. Yep. I get it.
I hear you.
And I'm not embarrassed.
Where in Wisconsin are you from, Jana?
So I'm from a town called Fort Atkinson. It's literally only 2 hours. It's only 1 hour north of Rockford. So it's
Really?
Only in between an hour from Milwaukee and like 45 minutes from Madison.
So you're almost a fib, I mean.
John loves that word too. That's new to him. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I almost am. I'm only an hour from there.
yeah.
It
I don't
depends on
know.
my driving.
I think I'm far enough south in Illinois to where I'm not considered one of the fibs. Because,
If you're in Illinois, you are,
oh,
period.
stop it. Jana, that's terrible. No, I've had people tell me I hate Illinois people, but you're cool as hell. I've had them say
Oh,
that to
I
me.
don't
So-
hate. I'm just teasing. I don't hate anyone from Illinois. And I have really great friends, my college roommates from Illinois. So no, it's not. I honestly like people can joke all they want about, geographics and where they're from, but if you're a nice person and a good, honest, authentic person, I'm gonna like you.
well, we like you too.
Thank you.
So, okay, quick question, pop quiz. All right,
Okay.
because you're a Midwestern gal, I'm going to ask these things. All right.
Okay.
So, bluegill or crappie?
Bluegill.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm on board with that. People who say crappie have never caught a nice big bluegill, especially like clean northern, cool northern lakes.
We used to have a little cabin on Little Hills Lake near Watoma when I was a kid, and it had just had the best pan fishing. And I grew up fishing. Well, like I was telling John not too long ago, it's like every town in southern Wisconsin has its own lake, or big pond.
Right? Yeah.
And from Whitewater does. My mom lives on Lake Koshkonong. There's just so much great fishing in southern Wisconsin. And that's why all you Illinois people come up to Wisconsin every summer. It's
Well,
to catch our fish.
some do. Now, Jana, I must note that I have
Yes.
family in Wisconsin, and my grandmother owned a bar up there, and so
I've probably been to it. What is it?
it was the old Triangle Tavern years
Oh.
ago. Yeah, actually, probably not that far from you, really. Yeah, where you were.
Really?
Yeah,
What town?
it was. Oh, geez, I knew you were going to ask me that. I don't.
Do you follow that page, Drink Wisconsinably, on Instagram?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, they
Yeah.
pay tribute to
Yeah.
all the dive bars.
Well, this
taverns.
one, she got rid of it. I mean, she owned it from like not long after. I don't know, probably the 40s up until
Oh,
like 60s maybe.
okay.
So yeah, she owned
Imagine
it for a while.
the stories of the people that came to her
Oh,
bar
I
at
imagine.
that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Like,
all
that's-
kinds. Yeah, I wish I would have asked
Yeah.
her, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't. I want to say Pell Lake or something like that, but I don't think that's right. But somewhere out that way, not too far over the Illinois border.
Well, cheers to Grandma.
Yeah, she was a mean one, but God love her.
She was a
I'll tell you what, she was something.
She was
but-
a Spitfire. Huh?
But she was
Well,
nice.
look at-
She was nice to
Yeah,
me,
well, look at
so
what
I
the-
never complained.
Think about it. Look what they grew up in. I mean, when I think of my grandparents and their families, like they grew up in the world, like we think the world's changing right now, but in different ways. They grew up with, with World War II and the Great Depression and then Vietnam. And I mean, life was hard back then in the 30s, 40s. Life was a lot different than it is right now. And it was tough. I mean, it turned people tough. And so she might have been mean and crabby, but I bet she had pretty good reason.
Oh, she was good to me though. It didn't matter who she was mean to as long as she was nice to me. But
Also, I would probably say that a lot of the meanness back then probably came from like vitamin deficiencies.
Yeah, lack of sunlight, too much work. Oh yeah. The war, yeah.
Working in the mines.
Yeah. Let's see, how does this go? My great grandmother's first husband was killed in that cherry mine disaster in Illinois. It was the
wow.
largest. Yeah, it's one of the largest mine disasters in our country, the cherry mine disaster. And what happened was back in those days, 20s, 30s, they had obviously mines were underground and they had these donkeys that were underground that would cart things back and forth, but their stalls were underground and the hay caught fire. And there was an incredible fire in these mines. And anyway, my great grandmother's first husband died in that Illinois mine.
holy cow,
It's
I'm
been
gonna
a
have to
hard
look
life.
that up. The cherry mine,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So recently you went on a goat hunt, and
I did.
pretty cool. Your first goat hunt, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't
Yep,
ever
my
see
first-
myself going on one because
Don't say that. You never know.
Oh come on!
You never know.
I
No,
don't
you
have-
never know. And here's why. Like you never know. So I never really saw myself either. I'm basically a DIY hunter. Like I don't have, I don't drop 30 grand on hunts kind of thing ever. And so But what happened was it was just timing. You never know. First of all, you got to put in the points. I never thought I would be able to hunt bighorn ram, and I drew that in Montana.
Yeah.
I drew that tag. So first of all, you got to put in, you got to be in it to win it. And second of all, with the mountain goat, it was actually a conservation permit in the state of Utah. I happened to sell my house in Montana it was the peak of not the peak of the market, but the tail end of when it was really good to sell your product. And I think I'm probably the only one in Montana that moved out of the state in 2023. But I sold my house for above ask. So I actually said, you know what? If mountain goat and grizzly were the two last things really on my bucket list, and I'm going grizz hunting this June. But I thought to myself, I'm doing the math, and like, I can afford a big hunt like that every few years if I sock it away. And so I'm doing the math. And if you go on a mountain goat hunt now, you're looking at 15,000 to 18,000. Sometimes you can get good cancellation hunts, so cheaper than that. But I'm averaging it out. And then I'm thinking airfare for me and Keith, my cameraman, and then tag costs. And then if I go with an outfitter, I've got to tip the guide. And that tip is a couple $1,000s. So I'm adding it up in my head, and it's well over $20,000. And I thought, if I could get a conservation goat tag cheaper than that, I'm going to bid at auctions. Well, I got outbid the first auction I went to, but the second one I won it, and for below that. And so to me, it was the highest dollar amount hunt I'd ever invested in, but I did really well on the sale of my house. So I was celebrating with that, celebrating my getting married to John. And it was truly one of the most incredible adventures I've ever been on. Now, it was 17 days. It was in Utah. It was in the Chalk Creek Camas unit. Not the best unit in Utah for goats, but there's a lot of goats. But it was extremely hard to find big billies. But we had a big billy spotted on day 3 of our scouting. We scouted for 4 days and hunted hard for 13. And we had a big billy spotted on day 3 of scouting. Well, day 4, we went back up in there, found him again. Okay, sweet. Got our goat spotted. Well, then it was 5 days before I called Heath to come on up for the hunt, And in the meantime, another tag owner went in there and killed that ram.
Oh,
and
that sucks. That's heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking from time, but at the same, when I look back at it, I've talked to this guy, great, really nice guy. Has a little bit of physical disabilities at times, and like I'm telling you right now, a goat hunt will kill you. It is so extreme. I'm so happy for this guy that he got this beautiful big billy. That it was tough hunt, but it wasn't as tough as some of the other areas that we went into. And everything happens for a reason. And so we just hunted hard after that, and we were just pounding it. And I never knew what a panic attack was, and really I've never known what that felt like until this hunt. There were 2 different days where I thought I was going to die. Like I'm deathly afraid of height, and when I climb up into my tree stand, I'm like triple strapped. I've got harness on, I've got the climb rope, and I didn't used to be that. The older I've gotten, I have felt more scared of heights, a less confidence in my balance. In my 20s, I still didn't love being up in tree stands, but I used climber tree stands, and I went a little higher than I do now. But as I've gotten older, I just hate height. There were a couple of different days on my goat hunt where if I took 2 steps left or 2 steps right, I was falling to my death. And it was terrifying. And if John on the last, I was only so Keith filmed me the first 6 days, and I didn't know it would take 13. And so we've got incredible footage. We actually saw 25 ewes and nannies, a couple of billies. Some were just impossible to get to. But on that last day, when I did tag out, there's a little video on Instagram you can look at from one of the days of scouting, we were sitting on a mountaintop, and I panned with my cell phone, and little did I know that mountain right next to the mountain we were on would be on the very top where I killed my goat. And if you'd have told me you're going to kill your goat up there, I would have said, oh, hell no, there's no way I'm going up there. like, I don't think it's physically possible to get to him. You might be able to shoot a couple hundred yards from like the one saddle, but then how are you he's going to roll and get pulverized, or you won't be able to get to him. Well, if it wasn't for my husband, John, just encouraging me every step of the way and saying, look, we can do this. Let's just get up there and let's take a look once we're there. What do we have to lose? So took hours on hours to get up to where we climbed up to this one peak we were on, and there the goat was 200 yards away. And, we watched it and filmed it for a half hour, but it was in this rock slide where the rock slide slid and then sheer drop off 1,500 vertical feet. So if I shot the goat there, it would roll and I would never be able to get it, because then it dropped down to another cliff that you could not get to. So we said, if he comes left or goes right, I should be able to at least climb along the edge and get to this goat. And that's what happened. We waited till he crossed over, and I dropped him in his tracks at 200 yards, and with some rocks and trees above the drop off. But I'm telling you, getting over to him and back was terrifying. I froze at one point, and I said, I can't do this. My body tells me I'm going to die. I kept thinking of, Cameron Haynes' friend Roy, who literally, fell to his death. It's rare, but it happens. And anyway, just one step in front of the other. We got over to him, did video, cleaned him out, packed him up. I didn't even full body mount this goat because I was so scared of getting off the mountain with that weight.
That's
I'm
true.
just going to do I'm just going to do a really, really cool shoulder mount with rocks. And we had all the meat in the one pack and the hide and head in the other, and got off. But it was incredible. And it was one of the most unique things about the hunt was that I've never had a hunt that it's basically, I'd never been in that unit before. We scouted a ton on the laptop with OnX, especially the new 3D layer where you can really go in and see what it looks like. And then we scouted for 4 days, just hiking into these canyons and looking around and looking to see where we could find some goats. But I'd never been on a hunt before where you literally start from a trailhead, because that unit is one of the best hiking units in Utah. It was literally like hunting Glacier National Park. It was so awesome. Beautiful. It was so beautiful, but that it's so pretty. And so there's hiking trails everywhere. So we would pick different trails during the day. And then obviously once you get up high, you spot the goats, you get off trail, but you always start the first 3-4 miles on the trail. And so I'd be sitting there in the morning looking at someone next to me who's all, getting their walking sticks together and their water bottles and this, that. And, I'd be strapping my 28 Nosler to my backpack with the suppressor on the top. And, for the first few days, it was Mountain Goat Paulie, my buddy, and Heath and John and I, and you could just tell some people's looks were like, what are you doing? You're going in there with a gun. Like, it was just crazy. But I never encountered anyone that was negative. I did encounter a group of women one day that were on a girls' trip. I can't remember what state they were from, but they were out in Utah on a girls' trip. And we probably had a 45-minute chat on the trail. And they had every question on, oh my gosh, you're hunting mountain goat? Like, what's that on the end of your gun? And do you eat mountain goat? And they were totally inquisitive. And it was such a great conversation because they weren't negative at all. They weren't, I could tell at first they were a little weirded out, but they had such great questions. Those are the people that we hunters need to talk to. We need to talk to the people that aren't anti-hunting. They're not pro-hunting. They just don't know anything about it because they didn't grow up in a hunting family. I met this other gal one day who is I follow her on Instagram now. All she does is hike. Utah, Colorado. She all by herself all the time. And we talked a lot. She had a pistol on her and a bear spray, and actually known as man spray, just in case she ran into somebody creepy or something. But she hikes all by herself all the time. And she had tons of really good questions. She wasn't judgmental or negative at all. And she literally said at the end, I've been thinking about how great it would be to be able to go out and get organic meat myself. I just don't even know where to start. And so we've communicated a little bit online, and that was a great conversation too. And it's funny. I remember one guy in the parking lot goes, "Is that a suppressor? You've never seen one. Is it legal?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's legal. I'm not going to hunt with it. It's not legal." And, just a good conversation about hunting with a suppressor, and the benefits of it to me and my ears and the animals. And so anyway, it was really unique experience, not just the hunt of itself and the terrain, but the people that I got to talk to on the trails almost every day. It was definitely, that part of the hunt was really, really cool.
So were you hiking in to the unit through trails every day? So you were gaining out, you weren't camping at elevation?
Yeah, pretty much we set up our base camp at the base of like where we'd still drive to the trailhead and head in. We set up a base camp for the first 6 days. But yeah, we started out on trailheads because the trailheads are going to lead you to the high point.
Right.
That's why they're trailheads. You know, that's why these trails are awesome, because people want to get really high. They want to have an awesome mountain climb. And then you start to scout. And so we'd almost always, I'm trying to think if there was a day we didn't start at a trailhead. I don't think so. Every single day. And then we would branch off and cut off the trail when we saw goats up here or goats over there. Or, you know, we'd see goats maybe in the afternoon being like, okay, they're literally 2.5 miles away, 3 miles away. You could just see these little white specks, you know, that stand out like a sore thumb with the vortex. We took our vortex spotter. And it was there was a day that I thought it was good. I thought the day was going to turn into a Dateline episode, you know, like a Dateline podcast crime show, because I was either going to kill John or he was going to kill me. We got a tip from, I don't even remember where it came from, that, oh, there's goats above this one lake. You got to go in there, da, da, da. So we looked on X, and it looked like a tough hike, but doable, right? Because the first like 5 or 6 miles were trail. Well, I didn't look as closely as I should have on the 3D, and realized that to get to the spot that we wanted to look up into this one canyon was about 7 miles. And about 5 of those miles were like zigs straight up. Like, you know, when you go up a little bit, you hike, and you're like, okay, it's been a half hour, 40 minutes of hiking straight up. It's got to go down one of these, like, right? After a while, you feel like it's got to at least flatten out a bit or something. And it was just climb. It was a really steep climb. And we ended up getting back to the truck. We never saw a goat that day. We got back to the truck. We had done, it turns out we did almost 16 miles that day. And we actually tried to hike up to the top of this one cliff once we were all the way back up in there. And I couldn't, that was the first panic attack I've ever had. I couldn't go any further. It was literally like this to get to the top. And I just felt so unsafe. And like, there weren't any, it was just sheer rock, and there was nothing to grab onto. And I just called it. I said, I can't. And so then we went back down and went around this other big mountainside to see if they happened to be in the back over there. By the time we got back to the truck, I said, literally, I'm shocked this isn't going to be a future Dateline. 2 of them went into the mountains and only 1 returned. Like, yeah. I literally wasn't sure I was going to live that day. And then the last day of the hunt, this day 17 of when I got the goat, there were a couple really scary parts for me. You know, John's not afraid of heights. He's like a monkey up there. He could just walk he's super confident. A fear of heights can literally paralyze you in situations like that. Like there was a couple times he had to come back for me, let me just grab the back of his coat because it was sheer drop off on either side of this little skinny ridge. And I was just terrified. And, but you know, then when you get down and you're like, I did it, it is the most incredible feeling of just like, look what we just did. Look what we accomplished. It was a super hard hunt, but it was such a great experience. It was the first, we've hunted a ton the last 3-4 years, but not like that. Not like day in and day out and like just pushing your body to the limit. I've done a lot of really cool hunts before. My bighorn ram hunt was 17 days. That was 2 days of scouting, 15 days of hunting. That was super hard. I did a backcountry Alaska moose hunt, DIY. That was hard, but nothing was like this goat hunt.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And I just ate the last of the meat. So we celebrated. I know, I'm so bummed. You just don't get a whole lot of meat. They're all fur. But it was really good eating. I made, my favorite way to make it was this curry dish that a friend sent me a recipe for, and it was delicious. We had it New Year's Eve and sort of celebrated and told the story of the hunt again with our friends and had the last of the goat meat.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I have a question because I'm completely ignorant about the regulations of goat hunting.
Yeah.
Is it only the billy goats that you can shoot? And
no, it depends. Okay. I take that back. It depends on where you're hunting, what state, and it depends on the type of tag you have. I had a tag where I could shoot anything. You could shoot Billy, Nanny, and it is truly the hardest animal to judge. You have to take a quiz before you hunt. You have to go on I'm sure all the states that have billy goats have this, but you have to go on Utah's site and take a quiz. And actually, Steve Ranella he's the one narrating the video about it. It's a really good video. I learned so much in that video watching online about mountain goats because I didn't know anything about them before the hunt. Nothing. I'd seen them on other hunts I've been on. We saw them on our Alaska hunt. I've seen them in Montana, but I've never hunted them. And then you want to learn everything about them and, their habits and like, when do they mate and the kids and everything. And it's a really good video, but they're truly such a hard species to differentiate the billies from the nannies, especially when you're looking 300-400 yards away. The billies have a thicker base on their black. They both have big black horns that go back. Nannies can actually have longer horns than billies. What you look for, the nannies have a skinnier horn at the base. They often don't have a big black gland at the base like the billies do. The billies will often have a big dirty spot on their rumps because they love to dig in the dirt and lay down more than the nannies do. Guess this is crazy cool. How do you think the number one way to tell the difference of a nanny and a billy is?
I would guess by their testicles.
That's close. Actually, very close. They're hard to see though. They're so
udders hanging.
Yeah.
But the animals are so full of this and that so I could have started my hunt early September and it went like 2 months. But the later you might get snowed out of the canyons, but their fur gets every day bigger and more beautiful and fluffy. My goat was so big and fluffy because it took so dang long to get. But no, the number one way you can tell the difference is watch them pee, they pee, which is so interesting, because it really is. And trust me, in 17 days and all the goats we spotted, totally. So the nannies squat like a girl dog and the billies look almost like a horse. They stretch out and they kind of pee like a horse. It's a total, and that is the number one telltale sign. And then there's the horn thing and the dirt on their butt and their body shape. But I'll tell you what, I saw some monster nannies, huge. Wow. So yeah, it is very hard to tell. But yes, my tag was any nanny or billy. Wow. And I think there were, I don't know how many tags were in my unit. I can't remember now. But I know I talked to the guy who got a billy in the unit right across from us, which I saw every day because the highway separates it. And then, of course, the hunter I talked to who got and the reason we know he got my billy, this billy had a collar. That's another really cool part of the hunt story. So when we spotted that billy, I didn't really want to take it if it was an active collar. You can, it's completely legal, but I've done a lot of conservation work and a lot of work with the biologists. And I know how much work it takes to collar animals. And I don't care if you're collaring mountain lions or bighorn rams or mule deer or goats. It's a lot of work and a lot of dollars. And so, you can totally legally take depending on what state and species, but he totally could take a goat that's collared. I just was like, can we call and see? Let's call the division and see if that's an active collar. And so John called his buddies. They called back and said, we have no active collars on that mount. So we knew it was probably an older billy that had a dead collar on. And which is cool because and then it was even cooler to think about getting him because I want to get him. I want to look at that collar, turn the collar in, see the data from the collar that even though the collar's dead, he still has record of who that goat is, what data they got off that goat before it went dead. And they go dead after a time period. Because of their battery life. But anyway, this other hunter got him, which is ended up to be a really good thing. And it was an incredible experience. I'm so excited to launch that hunt. It'll be live on Carbon TV, free for everybody to watch, mid-January.
Nice.
Amazing.
So a lot of people talk about the whole collar thing, and I think I've even heard Ranella speak on it before and saying, as cool as it is, at the same time, he wouldn't want to do it. And I kind of feel the same way and kind of how you felt too. It's neat to know the data, just like a band on a bird. But at the same time, that animal has been molested. It's been captured by someone else. It's been touched before you. And to know that it hasn't been completely wild because at some point something's touched it, which is kind of hard when you're on a trailhead anyway, But especially I think an elk more so than like a goat or something like that. For me, I don't think I could shoot an elk that had a collar on it or a mule deer.
Yeah. I don't know. I I can see both sides of it. I really can. For me, it wasn't that a human had touched, because trust me, they're still wild as wild can be. It's not that a human touched it. It's that I didn't want, if there's active science coming off that collar, I'd feel bad. Like, I have a ton of friends who are biologists, and I just, and they wouldn't, I've talked to them about it too. I actually missed a collared wolf back in the day. And, I called up Liz, who was then the wolf biologist. And I was actually kind of afraid to tell her what happened, but I wanted to hear her, if she knew this wolf and what her history was with it. And she did. And she was like, no, that biologists, they maybe don't all think this way, but I remember her saying this. And the other one we talked to about the goat is that we don't want those collars changing the hunt. They're not out there to impede hunters from taking that animal. Like, we're just there to get the data. I'm sure some of them are disappointed when a live active collar does get taken, but no, she was like, you have every right to, but unfortunately I missed. Yeah. But no, it is fascinating. And I'm so sick and tired of hunters bashing one another for this or that, or what weapon are you using, or that's not a big enough bull, or da da da. I'm just, hey, everybody has their own, as long as you're ethical and you're legal and you're enjoying the hunt and you're, I just feel like everybody has their own unique pathway and a style of hunting that it's not for me to judge or say. And I wish that we hunters would band together stronger before we get our rights taken away, because it's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Especially, I don't even care that Clay uses his French warbow.
That what? What?
So we have an ongoing joke. Go ahead, Clay.
I jokingly call my because I don't hunt with a regular bow. I call my crossbow, to make it sound more manly, I call it a French warbow.
I love it. That's so funny.
So I don't even care.
That's a whole other topic. Oh my goodness.
Some people
I was
are
a
heated.
Montana wildlife commissioner for a year before I moved to Utah, and that is a hot topic among people, the crossbow issue. Now, I don't care if you use, I've never shot with a crossbow. I don't care if you use a crossbow. Like, personally, my dad started using a crossbow when he was in his 70s. More power to him. It kept him in the woods, and I love that. I personally believe that our disabled veterans or non-veterans, disability people, should have a right to use a crossbow. That's just my personal opinion. People can disagree all they want. Oh my God. You would have thought, because I did an interview that said that with Hunter Nation, and you would have thought that, I was the devil incarnate, because I said that disabled veterans should be able, I think they should be able to use a crossbow to enjoy the September elk hunt, to enjoy the bugling, to get out into the woods. And there are so many people who completely disagree with me that it would be, everybody would try to, take advantage of the system and use there might be a few yahoos who try to use a crossbow and say they used a compound, but I think in general it would do more good for our vets. And I've taken dozens of amputee veterans hunting, and there are some of them that I know they say, well, you could get an adapted bow, and you can pull it back with your teeth, and there is such a thing, and I get it, but it shouldn't be that. If a combat veteran who's whatever disability they have, it's just my opinion that if they want to pick up a crossbow and hunt with it, the more power to them.
Not only that,
that's a whole.
Yeah, I feel like even if you're not disabled, like you said, everybody's in a different walk of life. Everybody's in a different spot, and if somebody wants to go out elk hunting but has never had anybody, and they don't have a good archery shop or something like that in their area, especially if you live in like Colorado or Montana or something where you might have to drive 2-3 hours to go to an archery shop just to get fitted up, and when you can go buy a crossbow that's ready to go for like $300-$400 and be able to go hunt. And
there's people that say, oh, they're going to be shooting 150 yards.
Yeah, no.
I'm not saying that there aren't, but there's also compound guys who shoot that.
Exactly.
Would I don't take shots past 50 yards. I mean, I don't pull enough, number one, but I just don't. That's my personal preference. I think wind becomes a factor, but that's just for me. Are there guys who can shoot at 100 plus yards? Hell yeah, there are. More power to them. But I don't think guys are going to be running out and getting a crossbow and shooting 150 yards at deer.
I don't either.
I personally have never even attempted a shot that far with my crossbow.
Yeah.
So I just think that crossbows are very, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago with another guest, I believe. And basically my view is like, I live in Michigan. We're overrun with deer. I think everybody should be allowed to have, I think infants should be armed with crossbows.
And that's another really good point, though. It's depending, like, are you talking about deer overpopulation? Because that is a true problem. You know, and even in Montana, not the mule deer, but like the whitetail in certain areas, you can get 4 river bottom tags, you know, and go with your bow. Can't with the crossbow, but you could go with your bow and get 4 does. Well, why don't you let people use crossbows for does?
Yeah,
you know?
Especially
if you're having an overdoe problem. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of many topics that was on the docket. I heard about a lot when I was a commissioner that I just, I also am very passionate about our combat veterans and think we should do everything we can for them. So. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And going back to something you said earlier, we do, hunting is slowly but surely getting less and less popular with the communities that don't have any idea about it. And actually, to bring back a further point, I too have had lots of experience where we have Grand Traverse Regional Land Conservancy here, and some of their land, they buy up land and then they allow people to hike on it. And some of them you can hunt on. And me and my 13-year-old son, we love to go squirrel hunting, and I encounter people constantly, you know, just hiking. And then I get asked all the time because our squirrel season goes to the end of March. It's the last day of March is the last day of the season. And I'll be out there the last day of the season because it's like, you know, we love to do it. And people will be freaking out on me, you know, and I'm like, you know, okay, this is not some dangerous weapon. I'm shooting a 22 and I'm shooting into trees, you know?
Yeah. And honestly, they just don't know any better, especially if they haven't grown up in a hunting family. By the way, I've not done a ton of squirrel hunting, but when I did at my dad's cabin, it was so much fun. This year I was not at my dad's cabin. He sold it, but I was with a bunch of friends, my second family in Prairie du Chien. And I didn't take out, but it was funny. It was just, he had never been to Wisconsin before, could not believe the squirrels. Like, he's like, we should just come and do a squirrel hunt in here next year. Like,
Jana.
And like,
come and do a squirrel hunt, and we'll do. I told Clay we want to do recurves and just have a blast shooting them with like trad bows. Yes,
fun.
Come out and do
it. So I totally would. I have a Instagram account I love to follow. If you guys, I don't know if you see him. It's called Squirrel Warriors. This guy does taxidermy work with squirrels. Like, you know, they're riding the rabbit or they're shooting their bow. They look like little Robin Hoods. They are so cute. I'm on his waiting list. He's got a waiting list so long. And they're the same price as a like deer mount because he's so good. And he makes clothes for them. It's like, they're so, I want one riding a rabbit, but they like a chipmunk riding a rabbit, but they're just hilarious. You got to go check out Squirrel Warriors. I did a video just a couple of weeks ago. I was in my basement looking at my deer mounts, and I just thought of this. So literally have zero effort into this reel, but I just said, hey, calling all deer hunters, if you're like me and your deer hunt turns into a squirrel fest, I've got a good idea for you. And then I flashed to his, you know, squirrel mount. It's got almost 1 million views. And I'm like,
oh, that's awesome.
Okay, there's something. Yeah. People are either really into squirrels or really into or taxidermy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am a semi-amateur professional squirrel taxidermist. Clay didn't believe me that I said I wanted to get into taxidermy, and my buddy, in order to teach me, said, well, the easiest thing you could do first is squirrels. So we did like 4 of them. And
how'd they turn out?
Not too bad. I showed him one of the second one I ever did. I sent him a picture of it. It's not too bad. Right, Clay? I mean, it's decent.
Yeah, no, it's not too bad. But I did have a question for you. Are you skinning them the way you skin a muskrat then?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. When you
skin them down the middle and then pull them out and clip the paws, turn them inside out and flesh them.
Oh, Oh, okay. I thought I was gonna say, with a muskrat, you just do like a line down the leg and then pull the whole thing off like a sock.
No, I skinned them in the middle, like a incision like
Okay.
that
Okay.
long, and then trimmed around it and folded them inside out and kept going. Yep.
Ah,
So
okay.
then all
Okay,
you have to stitch is the belly. Yeah.
speaking of muskrat, have either one of you eaten muskrat?
I
Yes,
have
I
not.
have.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, you have Clay? Okay, let's
Yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
it. Yeah, me too.
I trap muskrat. Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
nice, nice, nice. I was
yeah.
treated to smoked muskrat up in Alberta. I hunted
Wow.
with the Swampy Cree Nation, and
Hmm.
they were just so great. And one of the guys brought over muskrat, and it was like I had this. It was really actually very bland. It had
Hmm.
no bad taste whatsoever, like you might think. It was actually very bland, but it almost looked like shredded beef. And if you
Hmm.
salted it, it was great. I
Oh
I
yeah.
can totally see why up there, especially, they did tons of muskrat hunting, and it was one of their staples because you could
Yeah.
always find them. They're always plentiful, and they're actually really good eating.
Yeah.
So
I haven't
I
eaten
wrote
muskrat.
yeah, I wrote a Substack article about how I think that if you're a forager and a hunter and you're delusional enough to think that you could survive the apocalypse on deer, that better get used to eating muskrat because muskrat's one of the most like reproductive animals in our country. You know,
Yep.
a
Yep.
single mom can have 45 babies in a year.
Holy
Wow,
cow.
I didn't know that.
Neither did
Yeah.
Well, no,
I.
like seriously, no one a serious note. No wonder why like the Swampy Cree tribe and their
Mhm.
ancestors literally, that was one of the most sustainable things they collected was muskrat. No wonder
Yeah.
with like I had no idea the numbers. I thought rabbits were bad. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, you have otters eating them from the water, and then you have all kinds of aerial predators eating muskrats as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's
plus,
get on the subject here then, because I'm curious. I've never eaten a coyote or a wolf or anything like that. Have either of you?
no.
No. My
Would
friend
you?
Jason Tarwater has.
Oh, for
Jason,
sure.
so my buddy Jason Tarwater, he works with the NWTF. He cooked up coyote and he said it wasn't bad. Um, so I eat everything, right? I mean, I love mountain lion. Bears. Obviously, I hunt bear more than any other species, so I eat a lot of it. I love bear. I love everything. Um, the one thing that would concern me is parasites.
Mm.
With coyotes, I don't know if anyone I know has ever eaten a wolf, but I'm sure there are people out there. But not just because they're buggy, but literally they probably have some type of parasite that's not the safest to eat. I'm not
Mm.
sure. I did see an episode. It was one of Ranella's episodes so long ago where he cooked it up, and even he said it was horrible, and it must have been bad if he said it was.
I imagine like a muskie, depending on what time of year it is, especially if they're breeding or something, might be extra musky.
There
But I
now,
had
my husband John hunts coyote more than any other species. He is
Really?
we have coyote dogs. We have decoy dogs. Yeah,
Hmm.
he has 3 decoy dogs, which is so much fun. They actually lure the coyotes back to you as a hunter. Sitting in you're sitting there and you're calling like a regular coyote hunt, but then the dogs will go and lure the coyotes back to you. It's so much fun.
No way. Really?
But
Wait,
yeah,
Go
oh, it's
into
incredible.
this a little bit. You
You
have
guys
you
have
have
never heard of decoying?
aren't you afraid of your
No.
dogs getting shot from another?
No. Oh, I mean, if you took some Yahoo out with you, maybe, but like, no, I actually, before I even met John, I had hunted with Levi Johnson, and he has a show on, it's on Carbon TV and some other networks.
Dogging it
but
or something, right?
Dogging with Levi.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's got mountain cur dogs too, just like John. And I've been out with Levi probably half a dozen times. It is so much fun. So you train the dogs, and when they're pups, they're following the other dogs, like, the other cur dogs, and watching them what they do. But you basically beep them or tone them or train them. When the coyotes come in, the dog's natural instinct is to chase it, right? But
Mhm.
and once in a while they'll tangle up and nip each other or get into a little bit of a fight. But really, the dogs go out if they see or hear the coyotes. They'll go out to them, and 10 or 15 yards away, they'll turn around and come back to the hunter, and that's through training with toning. And when they come back, the coyotes, especially like during the spring and summer when they've got pups, a den full of pups, they're like, oh, you're afraid of me, you're in my territory. They'll chase the dogs then back to the hunter. If you watch my episode, it's I think it was October or November's episode of last season. So season 5 on Chronicles on Carbon. My show is all about coyote hunting because that's all my husband cares about. And we show lots of different stands where we're killing coyotes. But then at the end, we have one of the best dog-in sequences. We went coyote hunting on our honeymoon because who doesn't go coyote hunting on their honeymoon?
That's awesome.
And we had a great sequence with Pearl and Ruby and watched them work these coyotes back and forth and back and forth. And I mean, it's to the point where often they're so fixated on the dog. The coyotes are so fixated on the dogs that all their scruples go out. I've literally shot and missed multiple times at coyotes. And if the dogs are around, if we're hunting with the dogs, they'll keep coming in. They'll keep coming back.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the dogs don't look like a coyote. They're just
they look like a lab. With a
a cur.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when you first said decoy dogs, like coyote decoy dogs, like in my head, I'm thinking, oh, these dogs look like a coyote.
Yeah.
And that's why I was like, are you afraid of somebody shooting them? Like, even if they were just roaming and got in the neighbor's yard, if they looked like a coyote.
I probably should have explained that. Yeah, no, they're called decoys or or decoy dogs. But no, they don't look like coyotes. They actually, but it's funny. Seth Simpson, he hunts with all different types of dogs, and he's a huge coyote hunter, and he's trained. We actually bought a draught from him. John did a draughtar, and they look like kind of a German short hair.
Yeah, with a cool beard.
He was the best dog, but Razor, he only lived 2 years. He died of a twisted gut, but he was a great decoy. He was a great decoy dog. And Seth, he's a dog trainer professionally, but he can train, I swear, any kind of dog into being a decoy dog. But curs are really known for coyote hunting.
Well, I was going to say, you also probably have to have a big enough dog, right? Because like I have a mountain feist, and he's a squirrel and a small game dog.
I bet you could train him to it.
And I don't think I could, because actually my friend Lance, shout out to Lance Cottrell. He's a big hunter guy. He's got his dad, and he won't hunt him at night because he said that if he did, he'd probably get eaten by coyotes because he's so small. You know, feists are they're only like 25 pounds.
I don't know about what the size. I've never seen any of Seth's dogs be that little, but you know, like our curs are pretty little. We just got another dog from Seth. His name's Blue, and he's a mixture of Donovan Pinscher and Catahoula and something. He looks like a gray pitty, actually. He looks kind of like a pitty with a tail. But he's even teenier than the girls. He's about the size of a coyote, but he is fierce. Like, so yeah, I don't think you want smaller than a coyote, but I don't know. You'd have to ask the experts like Seth on that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
I just think it's kind of fascinating, like how dogs can be trained to do almost anything. I mean, a few episodes back, we had on David Ian Howe, who's he's like an ethnocynologist. He studies like dog-human relations, and pretty fascinating. I mean, dogs will do like literally almost anything that we want them to do. Like he actually refers to dogs as like human technology.
Yeah,
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I need to learn some training techniques. Blue is a great dog. He's just so wound. He's 1.5 years. We got him like half a year ago. Maybe he's 2 by now, but he's just so, but you know, he's also an outdoor dog and a hunting dog, and he's not fixed. And so he's a little crazy, but I could definitely use some schooling on how to teach him some manners.
You just got to look at him like you're going to kill him.
I could do that. I'm really good at
that. So all your dogs live outside, though, I take it?
Yeah. John built the most beautiful dog kennel when we moved into our house in June. And yeah, it's a really beautiful kennel, but they're toughies. They're outdoor, but they're babies too. You know, they've got their own little heated box, and but they're good dogs. It's totally different. It's funny. I always had indoor dogs. And I lost my PD, who was a white pit mix, 2 years ago. And at one point I thought I'm just going to get another one right away because, you know, I was just heartbroken losing him. I'll tell you what, though, it is so nice to not have to deal with dog hair that
Mm.
it might be a while before I have another indoor, unless I get one that, a non-shedder, like a
Yeah.
Bernie
Yeah.
Boozler or something.
My dog comes in my house, but we've got some pretty strict rules. Like he's not allowed on any beds. He's not allowed on the couch. He's not allowed he's a puppy too. He's only 5 months old, and he looks at us like we've betrayed him.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. I love dogs so much. I could literally just follow dogs of Instagram and I'd be content. I like dogs a lot more than a lot of people.
So have you done any
That's because they're more loyal.
cool hunts?
I'm sorry,
Have you-
what were you
Nothing.
saying, Clay?
I was going to say, have you done any hunts, other hunts with dogs?
Oh yeah, bird hunting. Yeah, not
Yeah.
a lot. I'm not a big waterfowler. In fact, our buddy Richie Gonzalez and his buddy took us out recently, and oh my gosh, we got 8 birds and emptied out 4 or 5 boxes. Like, I'm definitely not a big waterfowler, but I grew up with bird dogs. I grew up pheasant hunting. We had springers. I had a lab Otis for 16 years. He wasn't much of a hunter, but I've done a lot of pheasant hunting with dogs. But
Mm.
I've also I don't own them, but I've done ton of mountain lion hunting with dogs. And I've done one bear hunt with dogs with TJ Pace here in Utah. He's got amazing dogs. And I drew a Utah bear tag 2 years ago, and you can use hounds in Utah. And so we did the hound hunt, and I thought, yeah, I want to experience this at least once because I'm a huge bear hunter, but I'd never done the hound thing. And it was awesome. It
Yeah.
was just as hard a hunt as any other spot and stalk bear hunt that I've been on. Because a lot of times you follow the dogs in or they get off the trail. Or one time we just did a huge walkthrough through the mountain trying to cut a track and, probably did 10 miles that day. There's a lot of hiking, a lot of work involved, but it was really a fun episode. That one's on season 3 of Skullbound Chronicles.
Wow.
So I got to ask you, are you still putting in for a bear tag in Wisconsin, or have you given up on that? Or
No, I never really did.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I never really did. When I moved to Montana is when I got into bear hunting. I do so much bear hunting that I almost don't even have the time. I might do a Wisconsin crop damage hunt though with my buddy Jeff Long. He's got friends who live way north, and they get crop tags every year because the bears do so much damage. And I would definitely go do that with him. But yeah, Montana is over the counter for bear. Idaho's 2 tags over the counter. Plus, I typically go, like this year, I'm doing 4 bear hunts. I run my own baits in Idaho every year with Heath. I've got Montana spot and stalk. I drew Prince of Wales black bear, which you can pretty much draw every other year. And I'm going grizzly hunting in June in Alaska. So I've got a busy spring with 4 bear hunts.
No kidding. Save all the fat, Jana. Save it all and render it all.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah.
I try. When I was living in Montana and my girlfriend Laura Zara lived with me, she was really into that. She's into making things with the fat, and I had another friend who was really into cooking with it. I never really was. Not that I won't be someday. For me, it's finding time to do all these things I want to do. I travel so much because I film 12 episodes a year. I travel so much. Now show season's kicking off. I'll be at Sheep Show, Hunt Expo. And then my husband's an auctioneer, he's right now in Dallas. He goes to so many auctions all through May. And so it's just super hard. I'd really love to learn how to tan my own hides. I'd love to learn how to trap. And I would really like to learn to do more with bear fat because I have a lot of it.
Yeah.
But usually I give it away. I just don't have time yet. I'd love to learn to garden. I don't know anything about gardening, but I don't have time.
So speaking of all that and not having time, and you mentioned Laura, which knows a lot about herbalism and foraging and stuff. How has your journey progressed?
How is what?
How has your journey progressed on the whole foraging thing? Have you learned any yet?
Oh.
Have you learned the king boletes and at least pick those when you're out there hunting, or no?
No.
Oh.
What's that?
The
king
giant
boletes?
porcini mushrooms, the giant mushrooms.
Oh, is that what they? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've not collected them myself. I've heard of them. I'm not the best. I haven't learned a ton. You'd think I would with Laura, but Laura and I were like 2 ships that passed in the night.
Right.
We didn't spend that much time in the mountains together, but we went out one day and she collected valerian root and what's that other one? Oh, this is a great story about foraging and collecting. So we were at my house. My dog Pete had just had major surgery on his neck. He had some big lump removed. And the poor guy, was just walking around and higher than a kite. He'd had surgery that day and he looked like Frankenstein with his little stitches. I felt so bad. And I had people over. Laura was there, friends of Laura's, Polly and Dee, my friends were there. And we were going back and forth onto the deck in the evening, and it started to get windy, and the door blew into Pete and split his neck. And I didn't see it happening, but I went into the kitchen and there was blood everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, where's Pete? And I went and he was behind the couch and he couldn't see. He had blood in his eye and it was just horrible. And Laura goes, do we have any yarrow in the yard? I'm like, what? And she goes, yarrow. And I'm like, what the heck is yarrow? And it was summertime. So she goes out there, she comes back in. I'm trying to put pressure on Pete's stitches. And she's like, do you have a mortal and pestle? I'm like, no. And so she puts it in her mouth and she starts chewing, and I guess it tastes disgusting. And she gets this massive wad of green goop and spits it into her hand and puts it on Pete's wound. And she just sits there for a couple minutes. And sure enough, completely stopped the bleeding. That's a good Laura story. There's many more where that came from too, but I'm not the best forager except when it comes to sheds and morels.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Clay doesn't get morels.
I need more time to learn. Oh, are you into morels, Clay?
No, I'm not. So I am a foraging teacher, and I have the mysterious thing of only finding morels when I'm not looking for them.
Oh, right? No, me too. What's really funny is my bear bait in Idaho, they're high. Oftentimes there's snow. And it's funny, I find morels around all my bear sites. And I don't know what that connects to. If it has anything to do with bear scat, bears walking around a lot. But where we put our bait, there's always tons of morels. What do you think the connection is?
Oh, I don't know. I know everybody has this weird association of foraging with mushrooms, but while I do forage mushrooms, I'm way more fascinated by plants, and I spend more time dealing with plants.
Clay is our resident plant expert on the podcast.
Oh,
so yeah,
I need to come hang out with you and figure out at least the top 10 ones I should be collecting.
Well, it's never a should be. It's what everybody says. What should I collect or what should I do?
Yeah.
There's no such thing as should be because everybody's different. But what could impact you or what's more important to your lifestyle? Like the way you
when
live
the apocalypse happens, I want to know what medicinally I should need in my house.
Oh, there's lots of stuff you could eat. Yeah, unless you're talking like medicinal stuff. But Clay is a big chaga guy, and he's been collecting a ton of chaga lately.
What do you do with it?
Do you know what chaga is?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, chaga is it's just a medicinal fungus that grows on birch trees.
It's actually a canker, right?
It is technically not a mushroom, which is great that you got that, because most people call it chaga mushroom, and it's not. It's it's just a fungal growth that is, and so it's the tumor that grows off of the birch tree. And So, but it is an infection that is slowly killing the birch tree.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that's so interesting. And what do you like to do with it?
Well, I mean, we sell it.
But what do people do with it? Is it medicinal?
Yeah, it's medicinal. Oh. It's got a lot of stuff. I like to have a more realistic approach to telling people about it, right? Like, so chaga is good. It is medicinal, but it's also it is high in oxalates. So if anybody has like kidney issues or anything like that, they should not touch chaga.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also do think that it's good, but I don't think that it's as good as like the hype is.
That's not what you told me, Clay. I thought you said you had a friend that like cured his own cancer with chaga or something, or allegedly.
No, I have a friend who came to my chaga class like 8 or 9 years ago, had cancer, and then he started drinking chaga like every single day. And then his words were, his doctor was baffled by the amount of white cells that he had after that, because he said his white cell count was like extremely low, and then when he started drinking chaga all the time, it raised his white blood cell count. Now, I have no idea if that was because of the chaga. I just told you that story as an anecdote, you know.
I'll tell you what though, like as I go through my journey in life and get older and all the supplements I take and the health things you learn, I would rather be on that kind of treatment than so many westernized medicines treatment. Like I think our our country does not want to get us well and keep us well. They're trying to keep us sick. And
Oh,
I so
absolutely.
I absolutely believe in holistic approaches, holistic medicines. I follow a ton of those pages on Instagram and Facebook, and toxins. I've recently gone down the rabbit hole of what is toxic in my household.
Everything.
So I've tried to, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
The water out of the tap, for crying out
Oh
loud.
yeah.
So I've tried to, just kind of decontaminate my house in terms of the products we use both on our skin and cleaning products and, no candles, no whatever. I've gone down that rabbit hole last couple of years because I truly believe there's so many products out there that are made to make us sick.
Well, I
So
tell you
I
what,
love you.
I've been making tallow products lately, so I'll have to send you some tallow body lotion. I make whipped tallow body lotion.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. That's awesome. That's really cool. Huh.
Yeah, synthetic fragrances, like you just mentioned, like
Oh,
candles and all that stuff, they're so terrible for us. And like every time I go to my mom's house, I'm like my mom's like always like foggy and like,
does she have the
Oh.
Scentsy burning?
yeah, yeah,
Oh
and
no,
she's
my mom is too. My
and
mom
she's
is too.
all yeah.
Yep. I'm always, mom, stop using air freshener, stop using plugins, stop using your candles, don't use your air fresheners, get rid of your Febreze, do not use, laundry sheets, like
Hmm.
on and on and on. And every time I come home, she's like, what are you going to tell me to throw out this time?
Oh, jeez.
Well,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, it's at least people are catching on and trying to, make a better step in the right direction because I mean,
yeah,
my gosh, with as many things now versus how many there were, and the list just keeps getting longer to the point to where, I mean, everybody is going to have cancer by the time they're 40 or 50 anymore. It's just insane. So,
it's
hopefully
crazy.
more people learn and try and live a more natural life, and not only will it make everybody healthier, but also provide a better environment if people stop buying those products too.
Oh yeah, and truly, like we hunters have it made because we're out, getting organic food as fresh as it can be. And I've always, ever since I was 19, I've been primarily eating venison, or fish we've caught and birds we've shot. And for my freezers, typically got everything from, like I said, bear, mountain lion, to pheasants, to deer, antelope, muley, elk, and the more and more studies that come out show how much healthier wild game is than anything else.
Clay, pose your question about the venison and the taste.
Oh, I purposely like I know it's probably weird to say, but in our household um we like deer that have never eaten a off of a cornfield ever. So like the deer that I shot a doe this fall, and she was miles from any agriculture and predominantly eating cedar, and we love the taste of it. And I'm not doing anything for conservation by shooting those deer because Michigan is overrun with deer in the southern part of the state where all the agriculture is. But
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go to southern Michigan next year. But the point is that we think corn-fed venison tastes like crap, and I doesn't feel as like healthy to me. And
Mhm.
let me go on a little side tangent here for a second. Recently, I found out that there's more plant uh, antioxidants in meat than in plants themselves because of the accumulation that the animals do when they're eating. So, like wild animals eating all kinds of a variety of antioxidants actually put that into their meat, and then you get that as well. So,
Mhm.
meat is pretty medicinal, right?
Mhm.
Well, I don't like corn-fed venison. I think it tastes like crap. What do you think?
I honestly don't know. I'm trying to think if most of my whitetails per se have not been around corn because Where I hunted the last 20 years, for example, was at my dad's cabin, where we don't have any food plots. It's straight up acorns,
Yeah.
Okay.
and foraging. But it makes sense to me in my rabbit hole of toxicity, is that it makes sense to me that you are probably getting some of that glyphosate that's on that corn. So,
Yeah.
why not? If that corn is being sprayed by the number one, pesticide that other countries have literally deemed illegal, our country sprays everything with it. If that pesticide, that glyphosate, is getting on the corn and that deer is eating the corn, then makes sense to me that if you are super vibrational, that you can tell that, makes sense to me. I don't know. But I would say most of the whitetails I've ever shot, they're not in or out of a cornfield. So I'm probably not the best person to ask that, but it's interesting that you can taste a difference. But, chemically, and coming from a point of view with organic versus non-organic, I'd always prefer that they did not eat on corn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me
Well,
too.
Luke
Unfortunately,
has
it's
no
impossible. There's so much agricultural land around me that I don't think I could go 10 miles in any direction without hitting a field. So
Yeah.
it's almost impossible for me. Although I will say there's some places where I hit some like pretty decent amount of river bottomed where at least they're probably minimalized, contact with corn.
And like how much of that deer's diet is corn? Like they're probably foraging on a lot of other things as well, I would assume.
Except for in the fall, like
I don't
harvest
know.
time. That's when when all the corn is dropped on the ground, you can watch them go out there every night and eat it.
Yeah.
It's almost like clockwork, but
yeah. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to be able to test the venison to see if there are traces of the chemical in it.
We could do that. I think we could do that.
I think that would be very expensive. And
I might know some
Monsanto.
people. I might have some.
I'll have my people talk to your people.
I might have some lab connections, so we might be able to do that and do a little comparison. You're gonna have to send me some meat, Clay.
But what's funny though about that is that I don't want to eat venison that's eaten off a cornfield, but I've shot I've shot ducks in a layout blind in a cornfield, and man, it's so nice getting a nice fat corn-fed duck.
Yeah, well, that's with the duck though. No matter what, I mean, because it flies and it migrates. I mean, it's probably hit every cornfield on the way to wherever it is to you anyway.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. But anyway, Jana, it's been awesome talking to you. We could probably talk forever, but we don't want to take up too much of your time. Like I said, it's awesome. We thank you so much for coming on. But before we go, could you please tell everybody where they can find you, find your show, reach out to you, all those good things?
Yeah. On social media, I'm only on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's Skullbound TV or Skullbound Chronicles. Both are me. You can find my show on Carbon TV. I've got just launching season 6, Skullbound Chronicles on Carbon TV. Season 6 launches next week, so mid-January. And Carbon TV is always free. You can watch the app on your phone, or you can put Carbon TV on your TV through a Roku stick. You can just go in and add channel. You can do it with a Fire Stick. Any Vizio TVs now, you can put Carbon right in the main menu, so you can watch it right next to your Netflix, Amazon, Carbon TV. I also have, it's awesome. Yep, they signed a huge deal with Vizio TVs this year. So, and then even most people have a Roku stick, Fire Stick.
Yeah.
You just go into the settings, and there's an Add Channel button, and you hit Find, the Find button. Type in Carbon, you'll see it pop up. It has a little box that says Add to Home Menu. Check the box, and boom, there it is.
And in fact, I think didn't you do a video on that recently?
Yeah, on the Vizio one.
Yep,
I did. And I also have my Fast channel that's on 31 networks now, which is really exciting. And it's just like any other like Nat Geo Discovery channel. You put it on, and you have to unfortunately sit through some commercials, but it's fun to leave on while you're doing stuff around the house or with the kids. And you never know what episode is going to circulate. It's 14 years worth of Skullbound shows that are all on there. The easiest way to watch that one, it's also on Carbon TV. It's under their live heading. And it's just called Skullbound. And the other big network that carries it is Local Now. And Local Now has gotten huge. It's got like thousands of channels, and it's all free, always free. It starts out with your local weather, and then you just go up to the channels. My channel is 2112 on Local Now, and that's, like I said, just, you never know what you're going to see, rotating Skullbound episodes from the past 14 years. So,
wow,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually shocked that you can do it on Roku, and I'm going to do that right after I'm done talking to you.
All right, sweet. If you have any problems, just shoot me a text. I'll walk you through it.
All right, sounds good.
Look at
Okay.
you big tech nerd, Jana.
I know, right?
Well, thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Great meeting you, Jana.
Oh, nice chatting with you guys too. We'll have to catch up maybe mid-season. I probably have the craziest hunting season I've had in a long time. I have 3 veteran hunts that are going to be amazing. I got grizzly bear in June, so sometime after June I'll have to hop back on and we'll chat about the.
Yeah, you know what else we could do? And this is kind of a dead period right before elk season. I think squirrel starts in August, right, Clay?
For me, it starts November 15th, or sorry, September 15th.
Okay, I believe it's
September.
August something for us in Illinois. So you might have to come and shoot some squirrels in Illinois or something, and we can.
That would be so fun. Yeah,
all right, yeah.
That would be a blast. We should have some kind of tournament or something.
Game on.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, guys. Nice
Yep.
chatting.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.